In part 1, we tried to understand what Raj Yoga is and what are its outcomes. Now let's see the steps involved in the practice of Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is divided into 8 steps. The first is Yam, where one has to follow certain principles like non-killing, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence and non-receiving of any gifts. The second step is Niyam, where one has to follow the following rules of cleanliness, contentment, mortification, study and self-surrender to God. The Yama and Niyam, as we see, are the moral trainings. Without these as the basis, no practice of yoga will succeed. Then comes asana or posture. While practicing Raj Yoga, a series of exercises, physical and mental, is to be gone through every day until certain higher states are reached. Therefore, it is quite necessary that we should find a posture in which we can remain comfortable and stable for long. As meditation and pranayam are to be practiced in that pose, it is necessary for the posture to hold the spinal column free, sitting erect, holding the three parts, the chest, neck and head in straight line. Let the whole weight of the body be supported by the ribs, and then you have an easy natural posture with the spine straight. The fourth step is pranayama, which means controlling the vital forces of the body. Prana means the vital forces in one's own body. Yama means controlling them. Therefore, pranayam is controlling the breathing. Breath is like the flywheel of this machine. In a big engine, you find the flywheel first moving and then that motion is conveyed to the finer and finer machinery. This breath is that flywheel only, supplying and regulating the motive power to everything in this body. The knowledge and control of this prana is really what is meant by pranayama. Pranayama is actually not breathing, but controlling that muscular power which moves the lungs and that muscular power which is going out through the nerves to the muscles, from them to the lungs, making them move in a certain manner. Let us see now what are its applications. According to the yogis, there are two nerve currents in the spinal column called Pingala and Ida, and there is a hollow canal called Sushumna running through the spinal cord. At the lower end of the hollow canal near the Muladhara chakra or center is called the lotus of Kundalini. It is described in triangular form, in which there is a power called Kundalini coiled up. When the Kundalini awakes, it tries to force a passage through this hollow canal, and as it tries step by step, layer after layer of the mind becomes open. All these different visions and wonderful power come to the yogi. When it reaches the brain, the yogi is perfectly detached from the body and mind, and the soul finds itself free. The aim of pranayama here is to rouse the coiled up power in the Muladhara called Kundalini, and when the coiled up power is roused, the yogi is said to be enlightened. There include several breathing exercises in pranayama, which should be practiced under a guru only. The fifth step is Pratyahara, or making the mind introspective. We know knowledge is power, says the proverb, and that is true. Until you know what the mind is doing, you cannot control it. Give it the full length of reins, many most hideous thoughts may come into it. You will be astonished that it was possible for you to think such thoughts. But you will find that each day the mind's vagaries are becoming less and less violent, that each day it is becoming calmer. As soon as things are before us, we must pursue. So, a man, to prove that he is not a machine, must demonstrate that he is under the control of nothing. This controlling of mind and not allowing it to join itself to the centers is Pratyahara. One should practice not to get attracted or attached towards the senses. That is the real meaning of Pratyahara. Once it is done, the person is ready to become yogi, and nothing can come as obstruction in his or her path. One who has succeeded in attaching or detaching his mind to or from the centers at will has succeeded in Pratyahara. The sixth step is Dharna or concentration. Dharna, in simple terms, is holding the mind to certain points. For example, it means forcing the mind to feel certain parts of the body to the exclusion of others. For instance, try to feel only the hand to the exclusion of other parts of the body. When the chitta or mind stuff is confined and limited to the certain place, that condition is called dharna. Next comes the second last step of the Raj Yoga, dhyana or meditation. We have finished a cursory review of different steps in Raj Yoga, except the finer ones, the training in concentration, which is the aim, the goal to which Raj Yoga will lead us. When one has succeeded in dharna or achieved concentration, the next step comes is dhyana or to meditate. This meditative state is the highest state of existence. When the mind has been trained to remain fixed on certain internal or external location, there comes to it the power of, as it were, flowing in an unbroken current towards that point. This state is called dhyana. When this power of dhyana has been so much intensified as to be able to reject the external part of perception and remain meditating only on the internal part, the meaning that state is samadhi. Samadhi or superconsciousness. Samadhi is the last step of Raja Yoga, the ultimate aim. We have then two planes in which the human mind is working. First is the conscious plane, that is to say that the sort of work which is always accompanied with the feeling of egoism. Next comes the unconscious plane, the work beneath that which is unaccompanied by the feeling of egoism. In the lower animals, this unconscious work is called instinct. In higher animals and in the highest of all animals, man, the second part, that which is accompanied with the feeling of egoism, prevails and is called conscious work. But it does not end here. There is still a higher plane upon which the mind can work. It can go beyond consciousness. Just as unconscious work is beneath consciousness, so there is another work which is above consciousness and which also is not accompanied with the feeling of egoism. The feeling of egoism is only on the middle plane. When the mind is above or below that line, there is no feeling of I, and yet the mind works. When the mind goes beyond this line of self consciousness, it is called samadhi or superconsciousness.